talk about Korea here, Connor, because this really hasn't gotten really any attention in the U.S. media throughout Biden's presidency, which is really unfortunate because as I've been yelling about on the show for like the past 4 or 5 years and nobody's bothered to listen, is that there was a real president in South Korea who was willing to do what needed to be done to make a deal with the North Koreans and really was dedicated to trying to get that done and essentially had no American partner. And the way that it works as South Korea being a proxy of the United States. If the United States says we're not going to lift sanctions to allow the South Koreans to send delegations to North Korea, then, deals can't get done. And of course, the U.S. is a party to the Korean War, which is still, only solved by armistice. So for it to end, the U.S. would have to sign on for it. Also, as North Korea regularly points out, one of their biggest issues is the hostile American policy. And so earlier this week on the show, Connor, I was mentioning that there was this deal that was being pushed by Moon Jae-in, and he said that he had come to an in-principle agreement with North Korea and China to declare a formal end to the Korean War. Sounded like good news, but I have figured that in principle was doing a hell of a lot of work in this statement, and so there wasn't a real reason to be optimistic. Then we had the South Korean top diplomat saying that there was effectively that South Korea had reached an agreement with the United States on a draft declaration that would formally end the Korean War. Sounds positive. Again, I think in this statement effectively is doing a lot of work, and that the South Koreans, as announced even by the president, Moon Jae-in, are making a real push before Moon Jae-in leaves office this, I think, spring. I think March is when the term ends. It might be February. But trying to get something done, trying to start a peace process, and hopefully one that can't be undone before he leaves office. And as much as I would love to see this happen, Connor, I'm still not optimistic, but my understanding is that his party isn't doing particularly poorly in the polls. Not that I think, has an opportunity to be president again by South Korean law, but so maybe if he could start a process, then something could help to materialize. And it's just going to depend on a very eager and willing partner in the United States to do that. But that really doesn't describe the Biden administration on diplomacy from what we've seen with Iran talks and everything like that. So I'm still not hopeful, but it is interesting, and all credit to Moon Jae-in for trying to do something. Now, South Korea under Moon Jae-in isn't the perfect state, and they engage in militarism and buy and show off their new fighter planes and everything like that. But at the same time, I think the best chance for like a real deal to get done in Korea is about to pass us with Moon Jae-in, leaving office in the next couple of months.
I know you and Will have talked about the opportunity that and previously the Olympics has been used as a way for the Koreans to come together and represent the peninsula in a unified way. Do you think there's any chance that next month, depending on whether his term ends in February or March, if they could do something like that? And also, do you think the Americans are influencing the election to try and get I don't know, a more militarist successor?
So on the election, I have no idea. I really don't know South Korean politics that well. On the Olympics issue, I haven't heard any talk about it, so my assumption would be no. For probably multiple reasons, not just it probably lost its novelty after doing it the first time and it not being in South Korea, but also just with COVID and stuff, that may be a harder thing to try to set up. I'm not sure what the Chinese Olympic rules are around COVID, but I could see that, that being a little bit of a barrier to trying to do this at the last minute. So that's what I had on Korea, Connor.